This is World News Program coming to you live from Algiers with me, Mariam Zian. To the headlines. On the eve of the 23rd session of the Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Commission, Algiers and Tunis reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening bilateral cooperation and elevating it to the level of a strategic partnership, praising their political alignment on key regional issues. And in Gaza, severe cold claims the life of an infant and deepens the humanitarian crisis. Civil defense appeals for the urgent international action as the health ministry warns the cold has opened a new door to death in the Strip. Also coming up, Sahrawi activists say Moroccan occupation forces continue to violate human rights in the occupied territories. They call for pressure to release Sahrawi detainees and denounce European Union for legitimizing the plunder of Sahrawi resources. And Trump says Moscow's plan to establish a security zone along the border is moving forward. Zelensky announces Kiev sent Washington an updated peace proposal and insists any territorial concessions must go to a public referendum, while Trump reveals he used sharp language in talks with European leaders over the Ukraine crisis. And first in our news, the Algerian Prime Minister Sifir Ghayeb arrived in Tunis as part of the 23rd session of the Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Commission for Cooperation, according to a statement issued by the Algerian Prime Minister's office. Upon his arrival at Carthage International Airport, he was received by Tunisia's Prime Minister Sarah Al-Zafari, and a statement added that the convening of this session comes in implementation of the high directives of President Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Tunisian counterpart Kais Said, and as a reflection of their shared commitment to strengthening the bonds of brotherhood and historic solidarity that unite the two countries and their peoples. The statement also noted that Algerian Prime Minister Sifir Ghayeb was received on Thursday by Tunisian President Kais Said. Ghayeb conveyed President Abdelmajid Tebboune's fraternal greetings and reaffirmed Algeria's commitment to strengthening ties between the two peoples and advancing bilateral cooperation across all sectors. President Said expressed his appreciation for President Tebboune, highlighting the ongoing communication between the two leaders to reinforce cooperations and the bonds of brotherhood between peoples united by a shared history and destiny. He also praised the alignment of both countries' positions on regional and international issues of common interest. President Kais Said also praised the level of bilateral relations between Algeria and Tunisia during his meeting with the Algerian Prime Minister Sifir Ghayeb, calling for continued joint efforts to expand economic exchanges and elevate them to match the potential of both countries, according to the statement from the Algerian Prime Minister's office. The statement also added that the Tunisian president expressed his wishes for the success of the 23rd session of the Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Commission, which will convene on Friday, stressing the need to follow up on it and implement its outcomes in a way that ensures the achievement of the expected results for the benefit of both brotherly peoples. Algerian Prime Minister Sifir Ghayeb highlighted the deep historical ties between Algeria and Tunisia and the commitment of both leaderships to elevate bilateral cooperation to an integrated strategic partnership. He emphasized both governments' dedication to ambitious goals, making a full use of available opportunities across sectors in line with the directives of Presidents Abdelmajid Tebboune and Kais Said. Ghayeb also noted that the Algerian-Tunisian Economic Forum in Tunis supports the same vision of building a strong economic partnership based on complementarity, solidarity, and integration.
تم استعراض تقدم التحضيرات الجارية.
The progress of preparations for the upcoming Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Committee scheduled for tomorrow was reviewed, highlighting the importance of seizing this opportunity to strengthen the legal and institutional frameworks for cooperation between the two countries and to create favorable conditions for developing their partnership in service of their shared interest and the aspirations of the two brotherly peoples.
Prime Minister Sifi Ghraib highlighted the exceptional political harmony between Algeria and Tunisia, crediting Presidents Abdelmajid Tebboune and Kais Saied for their guidance. He called for accelerated efforts and new mechanisms to facilitate smoother trade between the two countries. At the opening of the Algerian-Tunisian Economic Forum held alongside the Tunisian Prime Minister, Ghraib noted that 66 Tunisian investment projects had been registered in Algeria by the end of October, mainly in the industrial sector, including pharmaceuticals and electrical industries.
As of the end of October 2025, the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency recorded 66 investment projects in Algeria involving Tunisian economic operators with a total value of nearly $353 million. The industrial sector accounted for 90% of these investments, particularly in the pharmaceutical and electrical industries. Meanwhile, the Algerian Commercial Registry reported that by the end of 2023, nearly 750 Tunisian companies were active in various sectors, representing more than 9% of all foreign companies operating in Algeria.
And the Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf and his Tunisian counterpart Mohamed Ali Nafti jointly chaired the Algerian-Tunisian Follow-up Committee meeting on Thursday in Tunis. The meeting, part of preparations for the 23rd session of the Algerian-Tunisian High Joint Commission, scheduled for Friday under the co-chairmanship of Algerian Prime Minister Sifi Ghraib and Tunisian Prime Minister Sarah El-Zafari, reaffirmed both sides' commitment to strengthening ties or relations of brotherhood, solidarity and cooperation in line with the directives of President Abdelmajid Tebboune and Kais Saied. The follow-up committee is expected to submit its outcomes to the High Joint Commission during the upcoming session. And in a statement during the committee's meeting, Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs Ahmed Attaf expressed Algeria's pride in the remarkable dynamism currently characterizing Algerian-Tunisian relations. Attaf stressed that this dynamism is reflected politically, security-wise, economically, and humanely.
We are extremely proud of the remarkable dynamic that currently marks the Algerian-Tunisian relations, and which is reflected by three main dimensions: the political and security dimension, the economic dimension, and the humanitarian dimension. We note with satisfaction the consistent pace of political consultation and bilateral coordination between our two countries, drawing their stability and strength from the tradition of continuous communication upheld by the leaders of our two brotherly nations, President Abdelmajid Tebboune and his brother, President Kais Saied. In this regard, we can only hail the existing political consensus between our two countries on the main challenges currently facing us in all our Maghreb, Arab, Islamic, African, and Mediterranean spaces.
And also, the Algerian Foreign Minister further highlighted the significant progress recorded in trade exchanges and mutual investments, stressing the need to support and encourage this dynamic while noting that the ambitions and expectations remain far greater than the current levels.
It is worth noting that the value of trade exchanges and the volume of bilateral investments have witnessed remarkable developments that deserve full support and encouragement. From this perspective, we hail the increase in trade exchanges by 42% over the past 3 years, reaching a total value of approximately $2.3 billion in 2024, making Tunisia Algeria's second largest trading partner on the African level.
And with regard to the human dimension, Attaf emphasized that it represents the fundamental pillar ensuring the durability and strength of Algerian-Tunisian relations in the face of any
We are strongly convinced that this dimension represents the fundamental pillar that will guarantee the sustainability and stability of Algerian-Tunisian relations in the face of any test or challenge that the two countries may encounter in the future. Here, we welcome the steps taken to strengthen the ties between our two brotherly peoples and facilitate the movement and communication of our citizens, particularly through enhancing land and air transport services and the resumption of railway transportation linking the two countries. And while considering the human dimension of Algerian-Tunisian relations, I must emphasize the special importance of developing border crossings as a shared priority for both countries.
Minister of State and Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf reiterated that Algerian-Tunisian relations are far too deep to be reduced to more figures or indicators. He stressed the importance of the historical ties between the two countries and called for the preservation of the legacy of the martyrs.
We affirm together that Algerian-Tunisian relations are far too big to be reduced to any numbers, indicators, or data. Relations between our two brotherly countries have been woven by the chapters of our shared history long before being shaped by the topography of geographical proximity. The great responsibility that is put on our shoulders today is that to preserve the precious legacy of the martyrs of the events of Saqiet Sidi Youssef in 1958.
Algeria's Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, Salma Bakhtamansouri, chaired the meeting of the Focal Points Committee of the African Peer Review Mechanism held via video conference. A statement issued Thursday by the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs explained that the meeting constituted a key step in preparing for the upcoming Forum of Heads of State and Government of the mechanism scheduled for next February under the chairmanship of Algerian President Mr. Abdelnajid Tebboune in his capacity as chair of the forum. The forum will also see the handover of the mechanism's chairmanship from Algeria to the Republic of Uganda in a context that reinforces the principle of continuity in steering continental efforts to promote governance and strengthen coordination among member states. The Algerian Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and Fisheries, Yassine Mehdi Walid, co-chaired alongside Hungary's Deputy Minister of Defense, Tamás Varga, the fourth session of the Algerian-Hungarian Joint Intergovernmental Committee. In his remarks on the occasion, the Algerian minister emphasized Algeria's openness to foreign investment, particularly under the new investment law and the advantages it offers to investors.
Our meeting today takes place in a context marked by strengthened cooperation between our two countries. We note a significant increase in trade volume alongside progress in joint initiatives across various sectors, including scientific research, industry, energy and agriculture. We emphasize the importance of cooperation in energy and renewable energy, given that Algeria remains one of Europe's key energy partners. Algeria today is more open than ever to foreign investment, particularly under the new investment law and the incentives it offers to investors. The doors of Algeria are wide open to foreign investors, especially Hungarian investors.
And for his part, Hungary's Deputy Minister of Defense, Tamás Varga, underlined the strategic importance of the Algerian-Hungarian partnership, noting that Algeria is a key partner of his country in Africa and the Arab world.
We are delighted that the fourth session of the Joint Commission has been successfully convened. This platform is more than an administrative milestone. It is an essential opportunity to evaluate our previous achievements and to chart new directions for the future development of our cooperation. Hungary views Algeria as a key partner in North Africa. Our relations reach back several decades and marked by trust, mutual respect, and genuine friendship. We are proud of this tradition, and over the years, and this Commission plays an important role in shaping our bilateral relations. The fact that we gather again this year after the session in 2023 demonstrates both sides' clear commitment to the stable and convincing development of relations between Hungary and the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria.
And Algeria commemorates on Thursday the 65th anniversary of the 11 December 1960 demonstrations, a pivotal turning point in the national liberation struggle. These protests helped internationalize the Algerian cause and showcase the unity of the Algerian people, their commitment to sovereignty, national cohesion, their right to self-determination, and their rejection of compromise. The 11 December demonstrations were instrumental in bringing the Algerian issue before the international community and strengthening the position of the Algerian delegation and its supporters at the United Nations General Assembly in 1960. They successfully presented a draft resolution adopted on 19 December calling for recognition of the right to self-determination and its application to peoples still under colonial rule, enabling them to reclaim their sovereignty and freedom. The mass uprising forced General Charles de Gaulle to confront the new reality, compelling him to resume negotiations with the National Liberation Front, the sole legitimate representative of the Algerian people. Algeria welcomed the decision of the 20th session of UNESCO's Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage, which recognized Algeria's leading role in inscribing the kaftan as a key element of its rich cultural heritage. In a statement issued Thursday, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs described the move as an important diplomatic achievement, noting that the committee updated the title of this element added to the representative list in 2024 to explicitly include the kaftan. The entry now appears under its revised title, Women's Festive Attire in the Greater Eastern Region of Algeria, Knowledge and Skills Related to the Sewing and Ornamentation of the Gandora, الملحفة, القفطان, النقاط, and اللحاف. The chair of UNESCO's World Heritage Committee also thanked Algeria for its constructive dialogue and consistent positions. Moving on to Gaza, a Palestinian infant girl died on Thursday due to the severe cold in the city of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Medical sources reported that the 8-month-old baby, Rahaf Abu Shazar, passed away in Khan Yunis as a result of the bitter cold, noting that her death reflects the gravity of the humanitarian situation in the Strip, particularly for children and displaced families living in worn-out tents that are unfit to withstand the cold weather. The civil defense in Gaza issued an urgent appeal to the international community, warning of an escalating humanitarian disaster after the recent storm caused thousands of displaced people's tents to flood. The civil defense spokesperson Mahmoud Basel told All24 News that rescue teams received more than 2,500 distress calls in the past 24 hours alone due to the severe weather system that hit the Strip.
Tonight, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip suffered greatly from the effects of this storm. People's tents were heavily flooded. We're talking about more than 2,500 floods that civil defense teams responded to in less than 24 hours due to the storm. Therefore, what the civil defense provided to the citizens is very little. And so we clearly say to the world, a tent is not a substitute for a shelter. It harms, it does not benefit the citizens. It doesn't protect them from the cold, the rain, or anything else. Therefore, the world must wake up. The world must take action regarding what is happening in the Gaza Strip by providing caravans as a primary measure now, until reconstruction efforts begin in the Gaza Strip.
For its part, the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza warned on Thursday that children, the elderly, and the sick are at risk of perishing as temperatures plunge inside rain-soaked displacement tents. The Director General of the Ministry, Munir al-Bush, said that the cold has opened a new gate to death in the Strip, adding that genocide remains the defining reality of what is happening in Gaza.
Approximately 40,000 displaced pregnant women are living in overcrowded shelters lacking hygiene, sanitation and heating. Therefore, this cold snap and the severe cold we are experiencing today, coupled with the shortages of food and medicine, will undoubtedly lead to a new wave of deaths. Death and occupation are rampant, killing our sons and children every moment. And now the cold of the new year arrives to claim the lives of these children, victims of this deadly war, this genocidal war on the Gaza Strip.
And human rights violations in Western Sahara are mounting, with Sahrawi activists condemning Morocco's policy and urging international action, while Sahrawis abroad reject the EU's attempts to bypass their consent in territorial agreements. More details with Hossam Barkan.
Accusations against Morocco over human rights violations in Western Sahara are mounting, as the Sahrawi Commission for the Fight Against the Moroccan Occupation criticized Rabat's obstinate and discriminatory policies, citing enforced disappearance, torture, legal neglect, and deprivation of basic needs in Moroccan prisons. Sahrawi human rights activist Aminatu Haidar said these reflect a systemic pattern targeting civilians and urged the international community to pressure Morocco to release Sahrawi detainees.
We hold increasing doubts about the seriousness of the international community in compelling the Moroccan occupying state to respect international law and binding conventions. We call on the international community and international and regional human rights organizations to exert pressure for the release of all Sahrawi political prisoners held across the detention centers of the occupying state and in Moroccan prisons. We also demand that Western Sahara be open to international monitors and journalists, and we call for guarantees to protect Sahrawi human rights defenders and Sahrawi citizens from the repression and retaliatory practices of the Moroccan occupation authorities.
Sahrawis abroad condemned the EU's attempt to legitimize Morocco's exploitation of Sahrawi resources, reaffirming their rejection of any agreement on Sahrawi territories without their consent, following a diaspora protest outside the European Parliament in Brussels.
We join the voices of individuals and associations standing in solidarity with the Sahrawi cause in condemning the attempts of the European Commission to bypass the principle of our consent to any agreement, despite the rulings issued by the Court of Justice of the European Union. The court clearly affirmed that any agreement applied to Western Sahara must have the consent of the people of Western Sahara. Instead of respecting the rulings issued by the court on October 4, 2024, the Commission proceeded to negotiate a new agreement with Morocco, following a process marked by a lack of transparency and by ignoring both the European Parliament and European citizens.
This comes as calls grow louder for renewed international engagement to ensure respect for human rights in Western Sahara and to advance efforts toward a just and lasting solution to the decades-long conflict.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that the establishment of a security zone in the border areas with Ukraine is progressing according to the plan set by the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. During a Kremlin meeting dedicated to reviewing the military situation, Putin noted positive momentum across all combat fronts, adding that military operations in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, as well as in Kherson and Zaporizhia provinces, are proceeding in a steady and consistent manner. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated that his country is seeking a package of agreed-upon documents that would ensure a long-term and sustainable peace in Ukraine, along with security guarantees for all parties concerned. In a speech delivered at a meeting of ambassadors in Moscow, Lavrov said Russia believes the mediation efforts undertaken by U.S. President Donald Trump to reach such an agreement are serious. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday that any concessions regarding territory would be put to a public referendum. He added that Kiev had submitted an updated version of its peace plan to the U.S. Speaking to reporters, Zelensky said the plan consists of 20 points and outlines a peace framework that includes security guarantees and a reconstruction agreement for Ukraine. He noted that the U.S. has discussed the idea of creating a free economic zone in parts of eastern Ukraine from which Ukrainian forces would withdraw. Zelensky also announced that he had discussed with the Ukrainian parliament the legal aspects and issues related to the possibility of holding elections in the country. In his evening address, he called on other countries, including the US, not to pressure Ukraine on this matter. For his part, U.S. President Donald Trump revealed that he used strong language during talks with several European leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. For his part, U.S. President Donald Trump will send a representative to talks in Europe on Ukraine this weekend if there's a real chance of signing a peace agreement, and that is according to the White House. And with this, we wrap tonight's program. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.